Right, 94 games have been played. We are now down to the final game. It's the 95th match of this tournament. I've previewed 94. In fact, I've previewed 95. I've already done a video about this final in the shorts on YouTube. You also can catch me on TikTok as well, by the way, Paul's play-by-play. But I thought I'd do a bit of an extended video on this final because I think it deserves it. I think this is a really intriguing final. I think this could be one for the ages potentially. And I think this might be a game we talk about for a long time. And I know we will anyway because it's a final of a World Championship, but it's got the potential to be bigger than that. And it could be a bit of a landmark one between these two. Yes, it is the final. I've not even mentioned who's in the final. But if you've been under a rock and you've not been sort of, I don't know where you've been, on the moon or whatever, yes, the final is between Luke the Nuke Littler and mighty Michael Van Gerwen. I wanted to kind of just go through this final in a bit more detail because I think it deserves it. I think there's a lot to talk about, lots of interesting things I think maybe to think about and ponder. I know some of you guys watching, you like a little bit of a punt on the darts as well. I'll try and sort of sway you towards maybe things to look at or maybe not look at, because I always think finals bring out quite bad value for punters, and I don't think this is any different in truth. But I might find something for you. Let's see. But anyway, let's get into it. Let's go into a bit more detail. Every finalist has a journey, right, in terms of getting to a final. And I'm going to start off with Michael Van Gerwen, I think, on this one, because he wasn't someone I expected to get to the final, truth be told. I thought he could have a decent run. He had an opportunity to have a decent run. But I just wasn't sure whether his game is completely at it to maybe make a final, and maybe is there players down the line that could maybe cause him more of an issue. I personally, my prediction was Gary Anderson was going to win the quarter he was in and get to the final, and I was spectacularly wrong. But I don't think I was the only one to be spectacularly wrong. I think many people also predicted that as well, because Gary's been superb throughout 2024. Arguably the best player through the season, especially on averages. He had the highest average throughout the year, better than Luke Littler, better than Luke Humphries, and so forth. But obviously he went out early, and it really opened the draw up for Michael. In fact, he wasn't the only one who went out early. Also, Ross Smith, who was a danger in that little section of his quarter, he also went out early. So it really opened up. And look, his second round game against James Hurrell, I always felt he was going to win that one. Whoever he was going to play in that game, Hurrell was the player that ended up playing up against. He ended up winning that game. No big surprise there. Then he was up against Brendan Dolan. Again, not overly surprised he got past Brendan Dolan. Look, Dolan can be a tough nut to crack. He could be a very sort of difficult player to beat at times, but I always felt Van Gerwen would get over the line. And then I thought, well, he's bound to play one of Gary Anderson or Ross Smith, probably Gary Anderson, and that will be the end of his tournament. It never worked out like that. In fact, it was Jeffrey de Graaf he ended up playing against, and I thought de Graaf played pretty well through the tournament. I mean, he wasn't particularly great against Sweeting in his first round, but he got better as the tournament went on. And he gave Michael a very good game, but Michael got past that. And I felt like that was another challenge that he overcame, but I felt like he was always going to overcome that, because Michael Van Gerwen knows he's better than Jeffrey de Graaf, and he knows when it comes to the real experience of big games, he has an abundance of experience over de Graaf in that. So he got through that one, no problems. Then he come up against Callum Ritz, and arguably Ritz has been the best player of this tournament, next to Luke Littler, truth be told. Ritz has just come a little bit out of nowhere, shown no real form, I think, through 2024, even the last couple of years. He's been struggling in himself. He always admits it in his interviews. He's a bit of a fruitcake. He's not really dealt with things very well, but he's now a happy player. He's a happy person. And when you're a happy player and a happy person, you play your best darts. And he did play his best darts. And he was probably a bit unfortunate not to win that game. You look at the stats and you go, well, Ritz dominated the 180s. He had the higher averages, had the highest checkouts. I think he even won more legs than Michael Van Gerwen in that game. But somehow, Michael Van Gerwen found a way, and he actually won 5-3. Went even 5-4, 5-3, and he still got done on the legs as well. Unbelievable. But it was a big performance from, I think it was a big performance from both players. Ritz showed he's top level player. He's capable of really being a real big time player if he gets his mind right. And as for Van Gerwen, well, he shows, again, his experience. He knows how to navigate himself past opponents. And at this point, I think Van Gerwen it's people now going, oh, here we go. Mighty Mike might be back, and I think he could end up being someone that might have the potential to beat Luke Littler. But of course, he had to get through his semi-final game against Chris Dobie, who himself, another Geordie, he'd been playing pretty well in this tournament. But I just felt when it comes to the semi-final, he ran out of steam. Simple as that. He had played the most darts out of anyone at this point, as well, Chris Dobie. And I think it just showed that a bit of nerves and lacking a little bit know-how at that very high level kind of proved it was a bit too much for Dobie. And he wasn't playing his A game. He wasn't hitting 180s with regularity, which he has been doing through the tournament and which he does when he plays his best. And Van Gerwen knew that. He sensed it. He smelt blood, and he got right into Chris Dobie, and he won legs at crucial points. I don't think Dobie played terribly. I think he was probably playing a B or C game, and it was still averaging around 100. But it was just Dobie needs to hit them 180s, I feel, with more regularity to dominate legs, because he's not the most deadly of finishers. He's not someone who hits doubles. He's not the best double hitter, in my opinion. And I think he needs that kind of little bit of cushion sometimes in legs to kind of just get him through. And he didn't get that. Van Gerwen was on his tail through the game, ends up winning it quite comfortably. And look, Dobie will be disappointed in his performance because he knows he can play a lot better than that. But Van Gerwen won't give a shit. He will not give a shit, pardon my French. He won't. And he's in the final. And he's up against the player that I think everyone expected to get to the final. If it wasn't him, it would be Luke Humphries. And obviously Humphries went out early doors against Peter Wright. But Littler, I think everyone expected it, to be fair. He was the bookie's favourite to win this tournament. And he's had an interesting ride as well into this tournament, like into this final in particular. I thought he had some real tougher games, I felt, early on than maybe his last two games. And I'll talk about that now in a minute, because I thought Ryan Meikle, Ian White, Ryan Joyce played their best darts I think they could play against Luke Littler. They didn't care. They were going to go out with a bang. They gave it their all. I think they believed as well that they could potentially get a result as well. Certainly Ryan Joyce did, I think. Ian White, Meikle, all right, debatable, but I think they played well. I thought Ian White was really impressive. I haven't seen Ian White play like that for a long, long time. And they played their best stuff against Littler. And I think Littler sometimes brings that out of players, I've seen. I think he brings the best out of players because he hits 180s with so regularity that I think they just then feel like they go with it. He's a rhythm player as well. He's a nice player to play against, I think, from a speed point of view. But he just seems to bring the best. And I actually think he brought the best. I thought Bunting and Aspinall weren't far off their best in the games that they played against Littler either, believe it or not, but they got thumped. And I think the reason why they got thumped is I just don't know if they fully believed that they could beat him. That is the honest truth. Especially Aspinall. I think Aspinall knew that Littler's an animal. Probably might do a bit, I don't know if he practices with Littler or not. I know they're under the same management as one another, but just felt like he was enjoying it, but he knew full well that this is probably the end of me in this tournament. Bunting, I don't know if he was enjoying it, but there was too much fist bumping, high fives, well done mate, in that semi-final for me. And I think the reason why that happened is I think you start losing belief that you can win the game yourself. I really do. I think the competitiveness kind of goes a little bit in truth. And I think Bunting will be disappointed. I still think Bunting played well. I still think Bunting probably played at a very similar level to what he's been doing through the tournament, truth be told. But Littler was just too good for him. And Bunting had opportunities, I think, to cause Littler problems. He should have won the second set. He didn't. That should go to 1-1, not 2-0 Littler. There was a moment where it was 4-1 as well to Littler. Bunting should have made it 4-2. Could have then things start changing maybe slightly there. It didn't. It went 5-1 in the end. I think there was another set earlier on in the game as well. There was opportunities for Bunting to win sets, to make that a far closer game, and he never took them. And Littler took his chances and ended up winning 6-1. And it was a comprehensive win and a well-deserved win in the end. But now we've got two players that, are they at the top of their games? I don't know. I think Littler can go a step or two more. And I think Van Gerwen potentially could go a little bit more. But I don't know how much more Van Gerwen can go. That's the big question. I think Littler can go up a gear or two, believe it or not. As well as he's been playing, I think there's more to come from Littler. I think he could show it tonight. But Van Gerwen is the question mark for me. Can he produce that little bit more? Because I think he will have to. As good as Van Gerwen's been, and he's the one thing I'll always say that Van Gerwen's got over Luke Littler, and there is no debate about it at all, is experience and playing in these World Championships and knowing when to win at the right, basically winning legs at the right time, timing. I know you all got to win legs of darts, but there's ones that feel bigger than others. And people who've watched darts enough will know what I'm talking about there. Like, there is legs that you just go, God, that is such a big one to win. And Van Gerwen does that far more often than a lot of other players. I don't say Littler doesn't. Littler does it as well, but I don't know. He's just got that bit more experience and know-how. And that's why I think this game is going to be a little bit closer than I think maybe we expect. I mean, the bookies have, just going through some notes here, the bookies have Littler as a short price favourite. It's around about 1 to 3, 4 to 11 to win this, and Michael Van Gerwen is 2 to 1, which I think there'll be plenty of people taking that. I really do. I think they'll be looking at going, that's a big price for someone as good as Michael Van Gerwen. And I won't put you off it either. I still personally think Luke Littler's going to get the job done, but I don't think it's going to be a walkover. I don't think it's going to be, I hope to God it's not going to be like a 7-0, 7-1. I think that'll be so disappointing to probably see, because I want Michael to have a good game. I want Michael Van Gerwen back at the top of darts. Like, I really do. I want Michael Van Gerwen to be challenging for that #1 spot in the world. You know, he's not there at the moment. He really isn't. Like, Littler's there, Humphries is there. He's around about #3, I think, at the moment. And it's Rob Cross and then it's Bunty. But there feels like there's a gap, big gap between the top two and Michael. And I really hope that he can find his way somewhere back to world #1. Because I think, and this game could be a big stepping stone towards it. It won't make him world #1, but it'll make him the world champion. And I think that's really what he cares about the most, is this 4th world title and more. He now knows there's Luke Littler about. Luke Littler could end up winning as many as you like. He might never win one. You never know. He might not win tonight, and this might be his best opportunity. We just don't know how sport can do some funny things. I doubt it. I think Littler will win his first world championship tonight, and I think he'll win plenty others. But things can happen. You never know. But anyway, I'm waffling a bit here. Let's get to the game. What do I think? Look, personally, I think Littler gets the job done. I feel, scoreline-wise, I feel 7-4, 7-5. I love it to go to full 13 sets. I think that would be absolutely amazing. Could happen. But I think realistically, 7-4, 7-5 feels about right. I've gone 7-5 in my short videos, so I'll stick with 7-5. But 7-4, I wouldn't be totally against that either. In terms of 180s, because I know a lot of you guys will be looking at 180s and basically, sorry, I'm just looking down at my notes, so apologies if I'm not looking at the screen here, but 180s, look, Littler's dominated it. In fact, a really key important element of this is that there is also a record to be broken here. I don't know how important it is to Littler. I would suspect he wouldn't mind beating it though, because he basically, there's the Ali Pali record, or the World Championship record of 180s, and that's held by Michael Smith, who has 83. Now, currently, Luke Littler has 64. So he needs 19 to tie, he needs 20 to beat it. I think he does that. I think he will get 20 or more 180s in this game, because I just think this game will go on a little bit longer. I don't think we're going to get, if he gets a 7-0, 7-1, even a 7-2, or 7-0, 7-1, he might miss out on it, potentially. 7-2, 7-3, 7-4 kind of game, he gets it, in my opinion. I think he hits enough 180s there, and I think he will get that. I think if it goes 7-5, would not be totally surprised if he hits somewhere in the region of 25 to 30 180s in this game. As bonkers as that might sound, it wouldn't surprise me. But you've got to be cautious. This is the thing, like, he could do that. But then we've seen games where people have struggled to hit 180s, and you wouldn't be totally shocked if they hit under 15 180s and miss the record. I think personally he'll get the record. I think he'll be very on it tonight. I think he'll be at his best, and I think he'll hit plenty of 180s. I still think Michael Van Gerwen might do the same as well, believe it or not, in his side of the bargain. He's been hitting 180s pretty decently as well. He's been hitting 180 kind of around 0.43 of 180s per leg at the moment. He's been hitting a lot of 180s in each set. I know a lot of people like 180s in each set as a little bit of a flutter, but he's been a bit more prolific than I think. Well, he's been as prolific as Luke Littler to some degree. I think 26 out of the 30 sets that Littler's played or something like that, I think he's hit 26 of them. 26 out of 30 180s. Sorry, I've got to say this again. 26 out of 30 sets that he's played, he's hit a 180 in. Van Gerwen is only missed a 180 in a set, or not hit a 180 in a set, in approximately, I think it's about 4 sets he's not. I can't remember how many sets he's played in total. I think it's around about 30 as well. 3 of them were actually last night. He come into a run where there was only 1 set he had played in the tournament where he hadn't hit a 180. So they've both been prolific in hitting 180s. Obviously, Littler's hit a lot more than Michael Van Gerwen in this tournament. But I think we can see a fair few. I think it's just, I would not be surprised if we saw over 30 180s in this game. I wouldn't be totally surprised if we saw near 40. I really wouldn't. I think both could drag themselves along in this game quite a lot. But you've got to be cautious because you could be well under that. Darts can be very funny at times. But I'm going to stick my neck out. I think there will be. I think there'll be 40 180s in this game. I'm going to say it. Let's go for it. I reckon there'll be 40 or more 180s. I think we'll see a plethora, and that just because I think it'll be a close game. It obviously won't happen if we see a walkover by one of the players. That won't happen. Like, if that happens, then that doesn't happen. But I think this will be close enough that I wouldn't be surprised if we saw near 40 180s. There we go. Take that advice on board as much as you want, really. It's kind of a bit of an outside shot for me. In terms of ton plus checkouts, Littler's had 8 this tournament. Van Gerwen's had 10. Don't be surprised if we see a few them to add maybe at least 3 each. I think in that one they've been pretty good. I mean, Littler's been a bit like he didn't hit too many high checkouts in the games he played leading up to the semi-final, but then he goes and hits a 170 checkout against Stephen Bunting. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a 170 between these two. They do like to set it up. The only thing I would say about the 170, it is a bullseye finish. And Van Gerwen, I think it was the first time, well, it was certainly the first time in the semi-final. It was the first game in the tournament for him where he attempted a bullseye finish. He's hit bullseye in other games, but they're not been finishes. They've been set up shots, but he never attempted a bullseye until the semi-final. So whether he'll do that more in this final, possibly, because I think he'll be more under pressure in legs than maybe he's ever had to be in the games that he's had previously, apart from Callum Ritz, who put him under pressure, in fairness to him. And he still didn't do it. So I don't know. But be careful with bullseye finishes. I know people like to have a bet on things like that. I'd stay clear of it. But maybe a 170 checkout has got a little bit more value potentially, because I just think there'll be lots of opportunities for that to be set up, I think. And I think the prices on bullseyes on its own are pretty short, pretty skinny, and not hold a lot of value, truth be told there. Is there anything else I want to talk about? I don't know. I just, look, in general, I think, oh, there is one more thing I do want to talk about. One thing I think will happen in this game, or not happen, whatever way you want to look at it, is something that's been talked about a little bit, I think, on social media, and I agree with it, actually. It's all got a bit too friendly up on the stage. I think, especially against Luke Littler in particular, lots of fist bumps, lots of high fives, nice shot, mate, oh, that was really good. In particular from Nathan Aspinall, in particular from Stephen Bunting. That won't happen tonight. Michael Van Gerwen will not pander to that kind of nonsense. He will get up there, he'll be growling, he'll be screaming, he will be right up for it. Fist pumps, like all of that. That will be happening. I think it will be no high fives, fist bumps, nice shot, mate. It's not in Van Gerwen's nature. He wants to win tonight. I still don't think he will win, although it wouldn't totally surprise me if he did, I've got to be honest, but I don't think he will. But I think it'll be highly competitive. I don't think it'll be needle. I don't think it's going to be get to that level. I don't think there'll be needle or upsets up there at all, or any fights. I just don't see that. I think Litter's a bit too placid for that at this stage in his career. But I don't think it's going to be high fives. And I think both players will be really pumped for this one. I think it'll be a great final. I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed this video for the last 20 minutes, if you're still watching. Again, if you like this kind of content, I will be doing a review of the tournament over the weekend, so please look out for that. I'll be doing other stuff around darts in the future. I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff around other sports, in particular football. Football mainly, I think, to be honest, a bit of golf, maybe a bit of American football into the playoffs as well. So do look out for them videos as well. And if you don't subscribe already and you like this kind of stuff, please subscribe. It helps me out massively in my future content. And enjoy the final tonight, and I will speak with you over the weekend.